You're a Tefano. Hi family, Silk here. Rise to War, just like many of you who are coming in now. And I've got to say, I'm so sorry that your game has now come to an end. I personally ditched out on it sort of after trying 2.0 a couple of times, and I'm just throwing this little video together here for you to kind of get you introduced to War of Nova, some of the differences, where it's at, what's happening, and so on. I took part in an early test probably about a year ago now when I got fed up with the nerf they gave to Ro here, not the one to his actual skills and so on, the fact that he was now become useless, but more so because I objected to all the blusher that they put on the new graphics. So without further ado, let's get into it. So as you've worked out already, if you're playing now, this is basically 1.0-ish. The game is still heavily under development. Revolving Games is a much smaller company than NetEase, but they've done a really fine job with this game. There's some way to go. We'll talk through a few of the things as I go through here about what's hot and what's not, and some of the downright ugly as well. We'll start off very quickly because I'm aiming to give you a very quick snapshot here of what's good. Basically, a player versus environment. King of that is the Sunder here. This has some amazing early healing, and you can get that at mastery level 0, which I've got here, and that is fantastic for starting off. Moonveil's pretty good as well. Starweaver is another one. I've got a Starweaver here we're just working on. That looks like I've just got this recently. It looks like it's going to be fantastic. Just want to say, while I quickly spin through here, you'll see I've probably got what 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9 10 odd epic ships. 1 2 3 4 5 legendary ships. Now most of them are only at kind of mastery level 1 2 and so on, but I've had only about a $300 spin tops across 2 seasons to get this lot, so game seems pretty generous on drops. Just want to throw that one in there. Anyway, we were talking about ships, so PvE, Sunder, Moonveil, Starweaver, all pretty good at the beginning, and if you're really at the blue rear end of the game, Dark Fang here is pretty good. Also the Ember Helm is fairly solid for early game PvE if you've not got access to some of these others I've talked about. And the Radiant, and funnily enough, the Radiant, now where is my Radiant so I can dig it out for you? Where are we? Just here. This is a bit of an oddball because it seems like it's not going to be that great in there, because you've got this. Now it's the best siege ship in the game, but basically it's this skill here that you're getting a recovery in these rounds, as well as up here a chance to stun, deals 300% damage. Fairly easy to get up. If you can get it to mastery level 3, this just improves further, getting this extra sort of damage received minus 5%, simply from 1 point invested. So that's pretty good as well, and easy to level up. So you want to level up that Radiant. That's your best siege ship. Dread is the only other one with a decent siege bonus, but that doesn't come in until you've got it at mastery level 3. That said, the blue ones, the rare ones, they're fairly easy to get up to those sorts of mastery levels. And the other thing about this siege damage is plus 10. This is per, if you like, per ship. So you want to be filling up your siege armies with ships that are basically the light rather than the medium or heavies. You'll only get that plus 10 bonus for a heavy, which costs you 4 command points essentially in there, whereas you actually get 40 for 4 command points worth of a smaller strike craft. So just be careful how you use them. So talking about siege, obviously we all know what that's about. If you've come from Rise to War, we're going around the map, we're going to siege all of these places. But the one thing I really want to talk about that's different to Rise to War is the fact that your central point where you're actually going for, if you like, what used to be the ring in Lord of the Rings, you were going for the centerpiece. You've actually got here, you've got 2 of them. You've got Nova 1 and you've got Firon, and you will see if you go into your season chapters right up here, and we are coming, I think it's here, Nova and Firon have been conquered in chapter 11. So that's just a quite important thing to remember. The end game is to get one of those 2, so you're going to be changing your strategies up slightly for that. So by now we've all worked out that capital ships are commanders, fuel is stamina, Strike craft replace your units, and forts are replaced by outposts in this game. And while we're on the subject of outposts, what you'll often see, although I haven't done it here, is you'll see somebody who's put an outpost close to their base. I'm only here temporarily, but normally, quite often, you'll put a base station by your outpost. There is a reason for this, and that's to do with the movement rates in the game. The fastest moves you've got in the game are a deploy when you're moving to an outpost or to another tile in game, and reinforcements. Unfortunately, reinforcements in the field, if you're switching strike craft around out there, it's not quite as functional as Rise to War. That may come in the future, and I think these things were only changed a year or two into Rise to War, so we'll give these guys some time on that. But recalling or summoning home a ship takes a vast amount of time. It's probably about twice as much as a deploy. So unless you're intending to spend a fortune in gold on recalling them, and I know some people can afford that, if you're not, for those guys who are not, build an outpost by your base and then deploy your ships back to that outpost when you're out in the field. If you've got a 3-hour march home, that'll cut it down to an hour and a half if you're deploying them back to here, and then just recall them from there. So that's one of the sort of slight differences with Rise of War. There's a bit of a workaround. There's a whole bunch of stuff these guys have got on the development program, and I've done loads of feedback videos on them. The great thing about them is that they're very responsive to this stuff. It's just that it's a smaller company, it gets queued up, and then probably quite wasn't expecting 1,000, 2,000 players to come in the space of 2 days. So at the moment we're in some various servers. We've got one Season 2 server. Essentially it was called Season 2. It's a test server. It's testing the back end, and it's for all the guys who are in the original servers 1 to 14, I believe. There's now a new Season 1 servers 1 and 2. Probably by the time I wake up tomorrow there might be a third one. The player base is going upwards at an exponential rate, and that's a good thing, but just don't expect too much. Give the guys some time to work on things here. We've got about a week or two before the new iteration comes out, as far as I know. I'm trying to tie the dev team down on that, but I'm not sure that they're entirely sure yet exactly when it will come out. I know they're trying to rush it through. They did come to me and ask about the top 10 to 20 bug fixes that are required for ship abilities and strike craft abilities. There's still some things to be worked out there. If you look elsewhere on my channel, you'll find there's a whole bunch of feedback because most of the strike craft need rebalancing. While we're on that subject, at the moment your two primary usable ones are going to be the Cyclops and the Harpies. I'll just pop into here and we'll just have a quick look through here. It's fairly fast to build up your infrastructure in this game. I probably had most of it built within about a week and a half, so that's pretty handy. We'll go in here and we'll look at these bays. Basically, Ograx have the Cyclops. This is the best tank in the game at the moment. That is damage received minus 15% overall, and it's got a taunt. It's much like the old Mountain Troll, I think it was. And then we've also got the equivalent of the Swan Knight over here in Vanguard, which is the Morning Star. Unfortunately, this is bugged, and you've got damage received minus 10%. Doesn't work most of the time, and the takes all damage from standard attack on behalf of allies. There's a bug report in that doesn't actually work, so stick with the Cyclops for now. And you've got Arcos Harpy here. It's probably the best assault ship in the game. It has the highest damage output. They're a wee bit squidgy, but if you pair them with some Cyclops, you're not doing too badly. There is another glitch on this one. You have a 100% chance to gain follow-up, and that doesn't work if it's counter-attacked, and that then throws its ability to attack out probably for the rest of the battle. So that's a bit of a bummer. It has led to a few other strike craft becoming viable. Those are the ones that actually do counter-attack. So if you're finding you're up against those Harpies and the bugs are still there and not fixed soon, then certainly always include just a handful of counter-attacking strike craft in your battle formations or battle groups, and you'll find that you're putting those Harpies of the opponent out fairly quickly. So that's just one little tip for now. Hopefully that all gets fixed fairly shortly. Another thing to bear in mind when you're out in the field having a fight, is that you can go into your ships at the moment. I've, for instance, got this Star Weaver here. I can go onto my officer here, Officer Michael. I can actually change this augmentation bonus out in the field by coming on here, and I can click change and activate anything else that I've unlocked. So that's really handy. That, you know, you've got someone incoming, they're 30 seconds to a minute out, you've got a rough idea what it is. You don't have to just go chopping and changing officers round. If you just want to change the skill, you've got the ability to do that, as long as you've pulled up, you know, the relevant officer and augmented it with one of these other skills here. So that's really quite handy, something that I'm not sure if it came in the last 6 months of Rise to War, but certainly wasn't there when I was playing it. And the other thing is you can actually just swap these officers round willy-nilly, and there's no penalty for doing so. You can do it out in the field, you can do it when they're moving, it really doesn't matter. So that's a bit kind of 1.0-ish or original version of Rise to War. That's really handy. I did say we would come on to some of the more ugly things. One of those, unfortunately, happens to be the battle reports. So all you kind of theory crafters out there and people who like to pore over these, yes, they make some sense, but overall there are multiple issues with those. I'm just going to try and pull sort of a slightly longer one up here to have a look at. We'll bring this one in here, that's slightly longer. While we're on the subject, Hammerhead here, specialist, uses medium craft, so there is some use for some of these craft. But again, a huge amount of rebalancing is required. That is on the dev team radar. They're well aware of this. Hopefully they'll get to it soon. They may have bigger fish to fry. I think they're trying to put out some kind of, you know, big incentive for people to come over, and some bonuses for new joiners, and something there for the old players as well. I've heard through the radars today, so that's good. But yeah, these battle reports, honestly, they are a little bit of a mess if we go into some of the details, and I'm not going to go through it too much. You'll find it out yourselves. That is very definitely on the radar, and that's a high priority to get fixed. You'll find various things in here are not adding up. Things are triggering at different times. Some of that's just in the report itself, and if you then compare it to the summary level stuff here, you'll find out that some of this stuff here is correct. You've got a combat report here, summary, combat logs. Sorry, the combat logs are correct. The summary itself is somewhat misleading when you look at these columns and tally them up against each other, and they don't match up here. All looking to be fixed, so that's probably one of the uglier sides of this. But again, the dev team's well aware of it. They're very communicative, certainly with those of us that are interacting with them and trying to create content and so on. And that's a sea change from what we had from NetEase. You may find there's some complaints about communications in the various discords. That's understandable. They kind of went on radio silence with something to do with their token generation event launch some months ago. Didn't quite go to plan, some technical error, and comms were a bit slow, and most of the Web3 community, the crypto community, sort of threw their toys out the cot, because they're not known for their patience, I think. There's a few guys who have stuck with it. You'll see some of them around. For instance, these guys here in Ogrex, they're probably, the Zorro Guild here is the strongest in the game to date. And yet they've decided they weren't going to move out of their territory at all, but they have stuck with the game. Kudos to them. But I say a lot of the crypto community got very upset, kind of ditched the game, and basically were abusing people in the discords, and so the whole team just went on radio silence, and that's kind of where we're at. The comms are starting to pick up now that the numbers are starting to pick up, and seems to be improving daily, so that's fantastic. One last thing, Battle Pass. Oh, probably a couple of last things. Battle Pass here. Is it worth it? Yes and no. It's the value of it's not particularly great. That's going to be looked at as well. I have it on good authority. The one thing about it, I mean, I'm doing it, and I'm doing it for the reason that there's a few officers there that have actually got some decent skills to them, and I want to get the doubles and duplicates of them to be able to augment my officers well and build up those augmentations. And that just seems like a sort of decent kind of longer term strategy. And there's the other thing, that I'm completely hopeless with money, and so I know that basically if I've got a bit of gold coming in for the battle pass, I'm not going to go stupid and spend money every time I need to upgrade something, because I've got a little bit in reserve. So that's a personal thing for me. There are some other issues around this, which there are various weekly tasks, some of which don't make sense. When you get halfway through the game, you're consuming 300,000 titanium in construction. So don't build all your buildings straight away. If you've got the battle pass, leave a few that you'll need to build a bit later. The enemy patrols, enemy patrols defeat 10 enemy patrols. If you don't have the battle pass, just don't bother hitting patrols. It's very much like the early stages of 1.0, where you have to use stamina to tile to an enemy patrol and then stamina to hit it full amounts. You can end up spending stamina. I keep calling it that. It's fuel in this game. Fuel to get there and fuel to hit it, maximum amounts, and the rewards are paltry. So really only try and hit those patrols if you're hunting down the battle pass. I've just done my minimum 30 I've needed so far in this season to complete those weekly battle pass things. That hopefully will get sorted out as well. On the plus side, there's some other great things. Cross server invites. Oh my god. People are saying, where's the bag end here and so on. Well, you don't actually need it. You can bring your mates across anytime you want, as long as there's room in your faction to do it within your server. So you just get their ID, give it to one of your officers, and get them to send an invite, and hey presto, away we go. So if friends get split up, you can get together. One of your mates joins in sort of 3-4 months after you. Yeah, you can haul them into your group. It's very simple. The other thing that I thought was lovely, these started off as being fairly bad in season 1, but these challenges have been excellent in season 2. The rewards here are great. You're getting schematics for every single one of these if you finish. They're not particularly hard to do. And for these elites here, you're getting a requisition order at the same time as well. The only thing I've asked the devs to do is to consider actually changing these to generic schematics, so that the lower spend players actually have a chance to pick one, if you like, to pick one actual legendary ship, and here in the hard to pick one of the epic ships, and actually be able to get them up and get close to achieving them, or if they've actually managed to pick a core up, get them up to a decent mastery level. As you'll see from my own ships here, I've had the $300 spend, probably not even that, and managed to get a decent number of ships. None of them are at mastery level 3, I think, apart from my cryptic. Maybe I think might have an overlord or widow who's got somewhere close, and that's it. So yeah, it does cost money to get these things up. It should do. No issues with that. The biggest benefit to spending a rather large sum of money here, though, is officers. If you can get legendary officers, and a lot of them, you've pretty much got it made in this game. But that's not to say that that everyone's not going to do well in it, because the counter system is very much like it used to be with Rise to War. You can get in the Corruptor, and you rename him Greamer. This guy is fantastic as long as he gets initiative, and that is just the one last point I'll leave you with, is that initiative in this game is key, in the same way that it used to be in Rise to War. If you go first, or if you choose where you're going in the order of initiative, sometimes you might want to go second depending on what skills you have. Then you can play that to your advantage. Hope this has been useful, made it as quick as I can. Hope you guys are going to come in and enjoy the game, but also be a little bit patient. Devs are working really hard on getting this thing up to scratch, and I think they deserve really a little bit of our patience. They're working hard to get there. They've been great to deal with from my perspective. Thank you very much for watching. Hope this has been helpful.